concerns the destructive effects of British colonialism on the Gikuyu. Its focus is on the Gikuyu land tenure system, a manner of managing land so central to Gikuyu identity that, as Jomo Kenyatta writes, in studying the Gikuyu tribal organization, it is necessary to take into consideration land tenure as the most important factor in the social, political, religious, and economic life of the tribe. The Gikuyu land tenure system was radically different from the system of private property at the basis of British society. It was a man's pride to own a property and his enjoyment to allow collective use of such property. The dissertation explains how the British belief that their particular system of private property was universal led to unbridgeable misunderstandings between even well-intentioned British colonialists and the Gikuyu people. The moral of colonialism is that it is much harder to make objective decisions on behalf of others, even for the sake of their own good. Even those British colonialists who were sincere and well-meaning found it impossible to distinguish between genuinely liberal values, their own local cultural practices, and naked self-interest. My father's view of autonomy was richer than mere non-domination by others. His worldview required every citizen to be provided with a liberal education, the goal of which would be to foster the capacity for autonomous decision-making about one's life plans, where this involved the kind of reflection that, for him, allowed for genuine autonomy. The description of the contours of an education that could play this democratic role takes up another portion of his academic writings. The target of my father's book is what he often called technicism, the view that scientific expertise and technological advancements are the solution to the problems of the human condition. My father saw two chief dangers in the technicist worldview. First, it seeks to replace a liberal education with vocational technical skills. The technicist educational system, therefore, seeks to rob us of the capacity for autonomy. Secondly, a technicist culture encourages a tendency to defer one's practical decisions to the epistemic authority of experts. As he writes, some societies are organized so as to restrict the distribution of important forms of authoritative agency to particular ruling elites. In other societies, all normal members of society are considered responsible free agents. Even in most of these, however, certain people are designated as more equal than others. Why? Because their mastery of a particular cognitive area of discourse or practice seems to make it socially desirable that they be granted the right, under certain circumstances, to intervene in the freedom of other agents. Such privileged people are normally called professionals. Of course, modernity demands trusting professionals. We must, after all, see the doctor. There are also salient cases in which distrust of experts is key to propaganda. The case of climate change denial is the salient example, though even here the form of the distrust has taken the shape of the mobilization of an alternative domain of pseudo-experts, such as the junk science commentators discussed in this book. Nevertheless, history shows that even the well-meaning are likely to conflate the products of genuine scientific expertise with the imposition of their own subjective values. The British imposed their own conception of private property onto the Gikuyu inhabitants of the land they had occupied, under the misguided belief that their system of property rights was part of universally valid economic theory. The British mistakenly saw their system of private property as part of the universal values liberalism should spread. He saw similar forces at work in the United States, in the education system and the mass media. My father does not solve the difficult problem of distinguishing legitimate versus illegitimate deference to experts, of drawing on knowledge without being subordinate to it. But he is